Welcome to the Gorgeous Gray podcast. I am Nicole Scott, your host, registered holistic nutritionist, rest mindset coach, author of the Gorgeous Gray movement, and the co-creator of the Menopause Reset program. In this podcast, we have real conversations about aging as a woman and all the pressure and uncertainty we feel as we head into menopause and beyond. Let's face it, aging is not an easy conversation to have. But I say it's time to talk about the messy middle and offer hope when we feel like giving up on ourselves. Let's talk about our fears around gray hair, our muffin tops, and even our dry, itchy vaginas and everything in between. I will help you reconnect to your feminine energy and offer real solutions from experts in their field to navigate aging as a woman. I believe we, as women, deserve to shine even brighter in this next chapter of life. So with a sense of humor and a lot of compassion, let's dive into these vulnerable conversations. Hello, and good morning, tuning in from Mexico and connecting with a dear friend of mine, Carolyn Carman. Thank you for being here for this amazing episode on the Gorgeous Gray podcast.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Being here. Yeah. So I wanted to introduce you to my friend Carolyn because we know each other through our Juice Plus business, and so grateful for our connection and the leadership that we've been able to be part of for so long. But this episode is all gonna be about a real conversation about aging and introducing my amazing audience to my Menopause Reset program that I feel like I haven't been loud enough. I haven't shared enough information with you. And I was like, you know what? Carolyn has joined us for the first group, and then she was alumni and joined us in the second group. And she has a beautiful story. But before we jump in and talk about the Menopause Reset, Carolyn, I just want you to have a conversation with women that are listening about your perspective of aging and being in postmenopause. Like, what has that journey been for you so far?
Thank you. Let's see. Let's go back to the beginning. I think people, as we age, even me a couple years ago, in my head, I started the aging conversation, and it wasn't a pretty aging conversation. It was my husband was going to retire, and it wasn't empowering. And I started learning a little bit about menopause and different things, and I watched an amazing talk with Dr. Christian Northup. I think it's called Aging Goddesses. And she talks about the myths of aging. And that was eye-opening because we buy into societal's culture of what aging is. And you're around people that are aging and they're talking about aging, like I'm getting old. I'm like, well, excuse me. What are you telling yourself? So that was an eye opener, and it just led to other things. And then it just keeps leading. And now I'm looking for evidence for aging beautifully and vibrantly. I'm looking for evidence so that I'm not looking for evidence of aging as a demise or a negative.
I love that, Carolyn. And I think that is it seems like such a simple change, but it's a big one, right? So it's like asking yourself, who are the people that I'm hanging out with? What are the conversations that they're having around aging? And am I buying into the story, or am I creating a new story and maybe hanging out with the right women and having the right conversations? So I love how you've kind of opened up that conversation because it's a big one. And even I'm here in Mexico, and I find I'm more of the younger age within the community. And so again, I can hear a lot of conversations about the aging conversation, but I'm also finding the right people to hang out with to say, let's go on a hike, let's go through the jungle, let's go for a paddleboard, and so again, it's trying to choose your new friends wisely, and maybe you have to get rid of some old friends that don't buy into your new story. Do you agree?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Or, you invite them to take a different perspective, but, if they're going to continue that story, it's not like you really want to be in that energy, but, love them, but that energy is draining.
Yeah, it is for sure. So let's talk a little bit. We launched the Menopause Reset last fall. You obviously saw on my social feed and us talking about it. What made you decide to pull the trigger and say, let's try this? What was your kind of tipping point to register with our program and try 8 weeks with us?
Short story.
We've got
Um,
time.
so I've been on a health journey and I've been doing pretty good, but then things weren't working that used to work. And I was trying for a good year to lower my blood pressure. I got stressed out and I got put on a low dose steroid by a naturopath. And I remember when I got the medication, I'm like, I don't want to be on medication. She goes, you said you wanted your energy back sooner rather than later. So I'm like, okay, well, my body reacted to that stuff and it was in a negative way. My blood pressure had never been that high and I couldn't get it down. I even went to a raw food retreat for a week in Arizona.
Yeah.
And the naturopath that ran that told me you had an adverse reaction to that medication. But I still wasn't getting it back down where I wanted it. And I'd seen the doctor, and she said, I want you to start monitoring your blood pressure. And that was like, I didn't like that. And I didn't like focusing on it every day. And so at a point, because I know what I know, it's like, I can't do that because I'm focusing on the problem.
Yeah.
And then I hit the peak weight I've been in like 20 years. And I remember saying to my husband, this is not working. I've got to do something. And then I heard about your program. And I'm like, I'm in. I need some accountability. I need to learn about what's happening to my body now that, because you guys mentioned that, the things from the past didn't work anymore. And it's like, yeah, it's not working anymore. And so it's like, I need to learn what's going on with my body. I mean, I'd done a little bit of testing and knew that my hormones were way off, but it was just an invitation to say yes to your program because I wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And so you were one of our, I'm going to say, superstars that finished the program because some people quit. Some people say, I'm out of here. This is, too hard because we're asking for accountability. We're asking for 8 weeks of, eating a certain way and, some calorie reduction and movement, depending on if your adrenals are weak or strong. And some women dropped out. And that's okay. It happens because it might not be the right time, but you played full out. I would love for you to share some of your results with our
I
program.
hope you come back. Your internet went.
Okay. Am I here now?
You're here now.
Okay, great. Yeah. So just share with the audience what were some of your results after finishing the 8 weeks.
That was amazing. First you take your pictures before, and it's hard to take your pictures before because you put either a bathing suit or your underwear on, and you take a picture front, sideways, and you measure your body. You take your measurements, and then in the end, you follow the however many guidelines. I think there's 9 guidelines or something. And at the end, it was 2 months long. And mind you, I wasn't perfect. I had a birthday, I had an anniversary, and I had a conference. So, but I still, followed a lot of the guidelines. Even when I went off, I still kind of followed that. So at the end of it, I lost a total of 15 pounds. But I hadn't been at that weight in so many years. Like I had not been at that weight because I don't fluctuate a ton, but so I lost 10 during the program and I lost 5 before. But here's the major big news. I went back to my doctor. I got on that scale. I was impressed. She was impressed. And she even said to me, for your age, losing this much weight in a couple months, this is pretty impressive. But my blood pressure was back to normal, 118/72. So no meds. I didn't have to go on meds, and my blood pressure was back to normal, and it stayed back to normal since. So, that it just really showed me how anti-inflammatory eating is the way to go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so you finished, and then you brought three people with you in class number two, and you know, maybe highlight some of your friends, what happened to their results.
Well, I remember my one girlfriend, she was telling me how she just felt so out of control with her body, and she's younger than I. Um, like, I want to divert for just a minute because some people say,
Yeah.
well, I'm past menopause. Well, I didn't know this. And there's like 6 things to look for in postmenopause, but most people aren't even aware of that. So when they say I'm past menopause, it's like, well, we still have more to learn. Like this is an ongoing thing. But these girls were younger. These
Right.
beautiful women were younger. I don't even know if they'd hit 50 yet. And, um, but they were already experiencing this. I'm not in control of my body. This is how I feel. These are these symptoms, and I'm just feeling like I need to do something. And my girlfriend was doing a different program and said, I think you should go talk to Carolyn because you're going to get the education. I didn't get the education, accountability, or support in this other expensive program.
Right.
So that's where my girlfriend's sister became one of my partners and her best friend, and then another girlfriend as well. But
Yeah.
you know, they've lost weight, they feel in better in control, and they feel like they now have a message to share with women because women are not being educated. Nobody's teaching us this stuff. If you go to
Yeah.
the regular doctor, you're not going to get them to tell you. They're going to just say this is part of menopause or this is,
Yeah.
just part of the whole package. It's not. You don't have to settle.
I love that. It's so true. And yeah, with the ages of women that are in our program, we have women that are in our 40s, 50s, and 60s and beyond. And it's true. I mean, my symptoms came in my 40s, and I never even put it to like, oh, I'm getting close to menopause, right? My mom was lost her period in her 50s. I'm like, oh, that's so many years down. But all of a sudden, even as a health professional, I was like, I had no idea that our bodies would start to change so drastically. And depending on how we were treating our adrenals and all of that stuff. So, yeah, you nailed it, Carolyn, about having that conversation at a younger age for women. Like, even I find some women can almost start experiencing it in their late 30s and have no clue why their body is starting to shut down or gain weight. So, I know now we have an in-house naturopathic doctor, Dr. Destia Skinner, who's been a really good friend of mine out of the United States, and she's a woman in menopause. She uses a Dutch hormone panel. She uses GI mapping. She uses DNA, and it's an option for women. We give I could have put her in, and our ticket price could have been a lot higher, but we give women the option, and especially if they have their own professional, health professional. But you use Dr. Destia. What did you get out of that appointment and the testing? What did you learn from that?
Well, I decided to do all the tests, the genetic one as well.
Yeah.
Both my parents have had disease, and my mother's a cancer survivor. So I really wanted to know the big picture.
Yeah.
And so I've been hearing about the Dutch test from another woman for a long time, and I decided to do that, and a couple things that I learned was that I don't assimilate B12 and folate, so I needed a different kind that's more absorbable. I
Yeah.
learned that I had, I'm not sure if this is all Dutch test related, but I learned that I have a couple variants in my genetics, and so I have things to look out for. But the thing that I loved was the two variants that were um, it's around homocysteine, but it was around something else. There's
Okay.
two things that are connected there. Not to be overly whatever, but
Yeah.
she was like, "You are doing so well. Like, yes, you need to watch this
Yeah.
because you have two kind of hits on that gene, but you're doing very well. And I know it's because of a lot of the other protocols that I've been doing for many, many years with plant-based nutrition. And then my hormones, they weren't even on the charts. Like two of my hormones aren't even on, my estrogen and progesterone were not even on the chart. So when you think of those 6 things that you need to look forward, worry, not be concerned about in postmenopause, I want to know about that so I can get them. I love the analogy, I think it's yours, but having a dashboard, knowing where you are so that you can do things to get them back in balance. Because I want to prolong my prime. Like I want to live like some of these women that I'm looking for evidence on aging beautifully for. And if I don't take care of myself and know where I'm at, how am I supposed to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. The dashboard. And we talk about that in our program, right? If you go into this chapter almost blindfolded, right? And so, I mean, one of my first tests in my 40s was the DNA test. And I mean, my jaw just dropped. I was like, every woman, every man, every child should know this information, because what it did for me is it started empowering me, giving me hope that we can control a lot of this if we get onto the right, say, lifestyle, supplements, and tweaking things. It doesn't have to be major, but tweaking things. So the one thing for mine that was a big aha moment that allowed me to go down the journey of playing with not drinking was I had a pathway that I am not a good methylator, I am not a good detoxer. And it's kind of funny because I'm the type of person that if I was to have, a couple drinks or push it to 3, I would be the one that would be hungover for 2 or 3 days. And I couldn't figure out how other people could drink 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much as me and do it all over again. And I would look at them going, I can't even imagine. I would probably be in the hospital. But now I knew this DNA. I'm not a great detoxer. And this put me on a huge path of learning how to detox my body better, right? And that's kind of the stuff that you've learned as well too, is the importance of it. And when you give that information to a woman, it's empowering. And that's what this course is about. It's empowering you to learn about your genetics, how healthy your gut health is. And then of course you nailed it, Carolyn, your hormones. So you're feeling better in your body, and what are you doing to balance your hormones now to get your estrogen and your progesterone up? What are some of the things that are working for you?
Well, my doctor gave me an oral estrogen that's
Yeah.
goes into the lady part. And
Yeah.
then Dr. Dustia gave me suggestions of a few other supplements. I think you also mentioned that one, the feminescence,
Feminescence. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And then there's a few other hormone 6 months. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel better. So I mean, I'm feeling like I had the adrenals that were shot,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. So,
Yeah.
I remember one day, I did my normal 10,000 steps walking, and then I decided to do this yoga thing that I hadn't done for a long time, and I kind of pushed myself. And the next day, I slept really well, and I didn't understand why I was so exhausted the next day. But then in class that week, we talked about overdoing it when our adrenals are shot, and it's like, that's what that was. So
Yeah.
I love that you guys speak about that. There's so many different great topics we learn about here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm so grateful that, you've been with us for 2 sessions and you're a raving fan and you're our alumni, and you keep on sharing it on social media and bragging about it to your friends. And I know you're doing it because it helped you so much, and you just want women to really be empowered and to know this information. So, we're going to stick with the 8 weeks. I think it's a good first step for a woman to really take control. Ideally, I'd love to do this for 6 months, and we might end up expanding it down the road. But for now, we're going to continue. So our next one is April 3rd. We have a number of women that are in it, and we're also using new technology to kind of do distance scanning and using some voice harmony to start working on the emotional components. So we're adding that. And I feel so grateful that the tools that I continue to use for myself and my clients, that we keep on just wanting to share it with other women so that we can help them, feel their best in our body. Carolyn, is there any last words of advice for a woman that's kind of been sitting on the fence and thinking about joining the Menopause Reset, but they're not quite sure? What would you say to that woman?
Invest in yourself. Learn this information. It's you won't find it in a package like this anywhere else that I've ever experienced. I won't go down that. There was another woman, and it was so expensive. Like, it was so expensive. So this is so reasonable, and you also have access to ask questions and be supported and be in a community and see the food, and there's just so many components of it. Invest in yourself. You're worth it. Prolong
Thanks.
your prime.
Yes, exactly. And you're such a great role model for the women that have given up on themselves, and you're calling BS on that. And even you probably had a point where you like, okay, but we all, doesn't matter what age we are, we all need a reset. And this is what it is. So if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're just not feeling great in your body, everyone can benefit from this program. So I'm really excited that you're going to continue with us. I want to thank you so much for being such a voice to women, to being a role model, to giving women hope that you can have a great, healthy chapter, right? This is a whole new chapter for us, and we get to choose what that new chapter will look like with health and vitality. So thank you, my friend Carolyn, for jumping on and sharing your beautiful story. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Nicole. You're such an inspiration to me. I love hanging out with you.
Thank you. I want to say thank you for listening to today's episode. If this message landed for you, make sure to leave a review and tag me, Nicole Scott, at Gorgeous Gray Movement, and make sure to share with your friends. You can head over to my free Facebook community, Gorgeous Gray Movement, or subscribe to my YouTube channel for more inspiring interviews. If you are still struggling and need additional support, you can take a look at my website, nicolescott.ca, and learn more about my new Menopause Reset program that I'm so excited for. Until next time, ladies, be well and own your sparkle.